My mother called me and asked me how my appointment went. And during that appointment, I told her, I don't think I'm going to make it to 50. And as soon as those words came out of my mouth, I knew that something had to change. And then I prayed really quickly and I said, God, I need help. I can't do this by myself. Hi, my name is Carol. I'm the 63-year-old mother of 3 boys and now 3 grandchildren. I am a USA Track and Field Masters Senior Track and Field athlete. I compete in the hammer, discus, weight, and javelin, and I am currently in the 2nd position in my age group, so I'm number 2 in the US in the hammer throw, which is my number 1 event. I also have a chronic condition called rheumatoid arthritis. And so today I just want to share my story and talk a little bit about my journey from a wheelchair to being number 2 in the United States as a track and field athlete. When I was about 48 years old, I started having some difficulty with working. At that time, I was a device trainer, so I was traveling, driving a lot, spending a lot of time in the air and a lot of time on the road. I started to notice fatigue as well as hives for whatever reason. That began to affect how I slept, so I thought that's why I was tired. And then my body started to hurt, joints hurt, and it was difficult to walk and to drive. I went to a couple of doctors and we looked at a few symptoms, but we never put them together at that time. At one of my appointments, there was one more thing that the doctor informed me was a reason for me to be sick. So at that point, I decided I needed to do something. I was continuing to get sicker and I didn't really do anything at that moment, but as I got sicker and we discovered that I had rheumatoid arthritis, I had another appointment and was told that my lungs were now being affected. My heart had already been affected, but now my lungs are being affected. So on my way home, I was in a really low place. I was depressed, I felt defeated, I was ready to give up. I really just wanted to stop my car and get out and just keep walking. My mother called me and asked me how my appointment went. And during that appointment, I told her, I don't think I'm going to make it to 50. And as soon as those words came out of my mouth, I knew that something had to change. And so I told my mother I'd call her back. I said, and then I prayed really quickly and I said, God, I need help. I can't do this by myself.
You're on the phone with your mom. You say, basically, I'm going to be dead in 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't want that to happen.
No. Because it didn't fit. It didn't sound right coming out of my mouth. My children and the lifespan that I had in my mind, that wasn't part of the plan. I didn't feel like that matched me. In my brain, I didn't feel like I should just be dying, even though I felt sick all the time and there was always something wrong. So it just didn't feel like that was part of the plan for me. And it might be for others, and it is, but for me, it didn't feel right. When it came out of my mouth, it just sounded wrong. It sounded like a lie. And I actually said the devil is a lie because it sounded like a lie when it came out of my mouth. And that's when I told my mom, I gotta go. I called my insurance, I asked them to find a new doctor for me, and in that moment, that is when I decided to stop waiting to die and to fight to live. And so I got a new doctor, I met with that doctor, and from there we were able to start working on symptom by symptom and overall try to get my health under control.
Why did you switch doctors?
Because my doctor wasn't listening. Each time that I went, I switched doctors because each time that I went, I would bring something up and my doctor would dismiss it. In fact, at one point, the way he was looking at me made me believe he was looking at me as if I was this person that just ate all day and didn't want to do anything. He dismissed my pain. He dismissed the emotional effect it was having on me, and he dismissed the physical effect that it was having on me. He didn't ask any additional questions. I had to beg for additional testing, and he barely looked at me when we were talking. And so I wasn't getting better, but I also wasn't receiving help. So that's why I switched doctors. As an athlete, your whole life, we know what it takes. We know if our outcome isn't favorable, then we know I need to put more work here, or I need to do something here. But I didn't have that control then. And it was a bad thing, but it was a blessing, because there's some things I learned from that. But in that process, I wasn't feeling that. I felt like that I wasn't going to be around for my children. I felt that I wasn't around for my children because I was pretty much bedridden. I couldn't do a lot of things, and the most basic things, like I was having difficulty even taking a shower because holding anything hurt. Standing on my feet, even the bottoms of my feet hurt to just stand on them. So it was difficult to realize that in that moment and in my mind, I was just waiting to die, that I didn't have anything to look forward to as far as on this earth, that I was waiting to die. And that was devastating. It was mentally and physically and spiritually, I would call that my bottom.
I mean, obviously you're a very religious person.
Yeah.
But God gives you powers and abilities and stuff to help push through things without necessarily leaning on Him completely.
Right.
At what point did it just become where I'm just going to lean on you completely?
When I couldn't do anything else. And I will tell you, it started, I used to journal, and I had stopped. And I really had stopped then because my hands hurt so bad. But then I got a pen. My husband bought pens for me for people that have arthritis that were big and I could kind of write. And so I started listening to messages online. I started journaling, and it was the only thing I could do. And I said, if this is a lesson, and this is essentially what was in my journal, if this is a lesson to remind me to rely on you, I just want to let you know I get it. It's like, in case you don't know, I said, and maybe I don't get it fully. I don't know how long this is going to go. And that was the other thing. I didn't know if I was ever going to get better. But I knew that if I wasn't going to get better, I couldn't let my mind take over my body. And so I had to go to the source. And that's the way I saw it. I was like, you are the source. If I'm not going to be healed, if I'm not going to get better, then at least when I go, my mind will be healed. But I can't do this. My children need to know. I need my sons to see that no matter what happens, you're still not alone. And so that was really the thing for me, is remembering what like the Bible says, if you train up a child, well, we were brought up in church, so I remembered. I was like, or sometimes they'll say, remember your first love. And I was like, okay, I remember. It's not just me, even though I feel like it's me. And I'm at a place that no one can help me. I was like, it's one thing where you have somebody that's assisting you, but that deep mind, soul, heartfelt spiritual need, they can't fill. And until that's filled, you don't have peace, and you can't find joy in any situation. And all of that was gone. So I had to figure out, when there was nothing left, what was left. And that was what was left. And that definitely, most definitely brought me through. Because if you don't have a place from your heart to want to fight, or have to fight, or know that you're not fighting alone, you won't. Because even though I'm here now, I will not say that I did not have setbacks, because I did. I had moments where things were going well, and then they weren't so great anymore. And then I'd be better, and then I was worse. And all those things happened in that process. But throughout the process, I already had receipts. God had already shown me that you can get better. I can help you. So when it was backwards, I had to trust that and do what I was told to do. Follow the process, trust the process. But I could only trust the process by trusting God. And before I found that doctor, I definitely prayed. I was like, I need somebody that you choose, because clearly you didn't choose this other person. So it's like, so I was like, if you choose this person, there's even an irony, and there's proof to that she was chosen. When I first went to the doctor that wouldn't listen, this doctor was his fellow, and she was listening, and she was taking notes. But when I went back to him, she was gone, and he was not listening. So I asked him, and he said, she's gone. When I prayed for that other doctor later, or a new doctor, and I called my insurance, they gave me the name of a doctor. When I got to that practice, the name of the doctor that they gave me was on the door. When the doctor came in, it was her. It was the fellow. She was now working for this doctor. And I just started crying. I felt like, okay, there's my answer. Because when she was at the other office, I felt like she was listening. When she left, I knew I wasn't being cared for. When she came in, something just, in my spirit, I knew. And I said, do you remember me? And she said, I do. And I said, can you help me? And she said, yes, I can. And here I am. So if you're willing to walk in faith, if you're willing to do what God says he will do for you and trust that even when it doesn't look good or it doesn't feel good, but you keep believing and you do your part, walking faith, faith in action, you do your part, you follow what you're told to do, then you will get there. And I can't guarantee it'll be where you want, but it'll be where you need to be. And you will find something in that. I'm 63 now, so that was several years ago, but it took about 4 full years for me to have full activity. So at the time, if I had to walk more than 5 feet, I was in a wheelchair. I could drive, but I couldn't really walk. It took about 4 months before I could start to walk about a mile. It took longer for me to be able to hold the steering wheel without pain, for me to go from constant pain from the bottoms of my feet to the top of my head took about almost a year. My body ballooned, so I'm generally somewhere around 125 pounds, but when I got sick, I ballooned up to 195, which did not help my mobility at all, but it also didn't help my kidneys, my liver, anything that could be systemic or something that could affect the functions of my body. Again, I partnered with this doctor, and it's really important at this point for me, at least I want to share this part, that when you do make the decision like I did to take control of your health, that you find someone that's committed as much as you are. In my case, I found someone that we partnered to fight and to do everything we could to get me better. We talked about what could work, what would work, and what I was comfortable with. We discussed diet, so we changed my diet, not so much because my weight ballooned, but some foods can cause inflammation. So we talked about multiple things that I could do naturally at home and some things that we could use with medicine. We talked about exercise, how I could start that, what we could do, what would work for me. We created a plan, and with her commitment to me and my commitment to my health, I was able to get to the place that I am now. Because rheumatoid arthritis is a chronic illness and it is not curable, I do still have flare-ups, and that's another reason why I continue to work on my health. It's also another reason why I'm here to inspire others. We don't have to sit around. We don't have to decide that this is what I have. It doesn't have to have me. So yes, I have rheumatoid arthritis, but there are things that I can do to still live a full life, and I'm doing those. One of those things for me is competing for the U.S. I travel all over the world. I just came back from Mexico City. I'm going to Korea next year. It's allowing me to have a full life. Working with my doctor, taking care of my health, partnering, monitoring, finding a partner, finding someone who will also advocate for me when I am not feeling well or cannot, all of those things come into play. So I have a background in healthcare. So to some degree, I understand how healthcare works. But if you don't, there are advocates, even if it's your family member. Find someone who can help you during that time as well. So you can partner with your provider. You can also partner with a family member. Major hospitals and major clinics have advocates. So if you don't think that you're getting the help you need, if you don't know if you're getting the help you need, there are resources. And I highly recommend that you use them. Even to this day, I am still using those resources. If something doesn't sound quite right or doesn't feel quite right, or you don't feel like you're being heard, get someone, if you can't do it yourself, to help you be heard. Your health is worth it. Your presence on this earth is worth it. And like me, if you don't already have grandkids, you'll be around to see them.
Take action now. Today's the best start. Listen to your body, listen to your heart. Oh, 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 yeah, yeah. Shift your mind, body, and soul together for the ages. Tools and information that helps you grow. Take action now. Today's the best start.